Hello, welcome in again to another edition of Musings from the Mountains. I am your host / managing editor of WVSports.com, Keenan Cummings. I'm joined by Serre, who serves as my staff writer. And today's all about roster movement with basketball, breaking news with roster movement with football. Let's talk about it. It's transfer season. Why not? Apparently, every day is transfer season when it comes to football anymore. West Virginia is going to lose Jeffery Pooler, elected to go into the transfer portal. Actually just announced that, say, around 20, 30 minutes ago. West Virginia starting defensive end has started the last 2 years, I believe, played in 38 games, 52 tackles, 6.5 sacks. Solid defensive player, Jared. What does West Virginia lose if he does indeed? He has not formally entered the portal yet, but once he does indeed enter it and move on to another location.
Well, you said it right there. Solid defensive player that is now leaving the program. And it hurts even more now that, not only are you losing Darius Stills up front, so now that defensive line is very questionable in terms of experience, but you also have to remember that Tony Fields in the linebacker room is also gone. Drayshawn Miller, Tyke Smith on defense, gone. You're dropping playmakers on defense left and right. It seems like it's going to be like Akeem Mesidor. You know that the last episode of Not Always Sunny, of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Will Smith is just standing there in the empty house and there's nothing around him. That's going to be Akeem Mesidor come week one. I frankly didn't see this one coming at all. He's him and Sean Mahone, longest current tenured Mountaineers, but that's just the world of college football that we're living in today.
I do think West Virginia, I know you're being facetious a little bit, but West Virginia does return a lot of talent on the defensive side. There's a lot of talent up front. It's young, yes, but there is talent. Keep in mind, Jeffery never played a snap this spring, at least anything other than going through the motions of, non-contact drills. Taj Austin filled that role and filled it well. Garnered a lot of praise at that defensive end spot. You can speculate why this happened. I think fresh start comes to mind, when you think about reasons that, a fifth-year guy that is given a 6-year would want to play somewhere else. I'm not going to speculate on playing time or whether he thought, maybe he was going to split time, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things that go into this. And if there's ever a time that a guy's going to look to go somewhere else, it's now. With the 1-year transfer rule. I know, I get it, guys. I get it. It's frustrating. You don't like it. Trust me, as a guy that covers this, gets to know these players and gets to know them even back from when they were recruits, because I've recovered both. A lot of the times it doesn't make sense to you, but it's really, at the end, it's not about us. It's about them and what they deem as, the correct decision. And West Virginia is going to lose some to this. As you've already seen, this is the third starter off the defense that they're going to lose at the transfer portal. They're also going to gain some guys. They got Doug Nestor. You can't celebrate West Virginia bringing in Doug Nestor and then blame kids for doing the same thing on their own. So, yes, we might not like it as a whole. I say we, the royal we. We might not like it. We might have to grin and bear it. But that is the nature of college football when it comes to the transfer system in 2021. And as this 1-year immediate transfer rule continues to be in play, guys, it's year to year. We talk about this, I feel like, every episode now. Rosters are year to year. Buckle up. The days of development. Matt Moore said it best when talking about his offensive line. He's trying to develop 8 guys now. 8 guys. Not, 2 sets of 5. Because it's hard to keep those guys around. If they're on your second team, they can probably play somewhere else. And guys understand that now and will take advantage of it. So, yes, losing Jeffery Pooler is a blow. You never want to lose a guy that started 10 games a year ago, third starter off the defense. But I do feel confident in the talent West Virginia has up front on the defensive side. That starting 3 is pretty much your starting 3 that they had all spring. They've obviously got Jordan Jefferson as a backup, Sean Martin, Jalen Thornton. They have guys there. Will this necessitate the need to bring in another defensive lineman? Probably so. I think that was a borderline, you probably had to do it anyways position regardless. Now I think it almost makes it a necessity with one of those 3 remaining scholarships. There we go. Another transfer. I do want to just drive this home, guys. This is not a sign that there is some major problem in the West Virginia football program.
Trouble in paradise.
There just isn't. I know that used to be the case. I mean, I fully understand that. Most people associate transfers to something's wrong is happening or something's going on. You wouldn't be welcoming in these high-level transfers if the program was falling apart. That's just not the way it works. You wouldn't be recruiting at the level that West Virginia's recruiting right now, which if you go by the Rivals rankings, the number 3 and number 1 in terms of quality per recruit the last 2 classes for West Virginia. So again, the sky is not falling. This is going to be a product of what happens now, really, at a lot of places. And this is no different than a grad transfer, guys. This is no different than a Ryan Mundy, Tony Fields, any of those. I mean, he just wants to try it somewhere else. Look how productive Tony Fields was at Arizona and Scotty Young was at Arizona. You end up with those guys. It's a product of what happens now. And I do want to drive that home. Flipping gears a little bit, basketball. Obviously, there was some huge news, which I planned on leading this off with, but just seemed fitting to talk about the most recent development. Derek Culver's gone. A really interesting sequence the other day. The agency he signed with released that he was gone. He had signed. They were not a certified agency by the NCAA, so his eligibility was up. Culver denies it. Obviously, there's reports written he's leaving. There's reports written about Culver. I'm trying to find out what's going on. West Virginia thought that Culver was coming back. So in the end, it turned out to be pretty much what anybody that had a pulse on it thought it was. This news got out before Derek Culver wanted it out. He probably didn't have a chance to, address the correct people, talk to the people that needed to know, including Bob Huggins in West Virginia. So once he was able to do that, about midnight, because remember, he's out in California right now, he released a statement pretty much confirming what the agency had already said. He had signed with them. They released it on multiple social media platforms. So it's done. Derek Culver's eligibility is done. His career at West Virginia is done. What do you reflect on his career, and what do you think about this news, Jared?
I may be a little biased just looking back at Derek Culver. I mean, he's an Ohio guy. Him and I, technically, we came to school at the same time, albeit he is a year older with he had the post-grad year. It's been a lot of fun watching him the past, 2 years. That freshman year was a lot of fun, but at the same time, a fun story I always think about is I remember in a press conference one time, somebody asked Bob Huggins if anybody was in his doghouse, and he said no, despite the fact that Derek Culver was on a team suspension. That freshman year for me and for him was ugly. It was a bad team. He was fun to watch, and he really only just grew. I think he still has a lot of growing to do. I think another year would have been good for him to stay here. But this move was coming at some point. We all knew that. He's going to be on the older side heading into this season. So, why not? He's still got plenty of raw potential. He spaces the floor well. I think he's a decent fit for this NBA game. Who knows? We'll see. I think West Virginia's in a good spot at big. So it's not a tremendous loss, but it still hurts. When you have a guy for 3 years in college basketball and he just up and leaves, especially the way Derek did, it hurts.
I think if you look at this on the surface from my perspective, Derek Culver's a great player. I want to make that clear.
Yes.
A very, very good player. You don't just luck into being a first team all Big 12 performer. 14 some points, 9 rebounds. But on the same token, let's look at it. He was great at rebounding the basketball, pretty good offensive finisher around the rim, bullied people, played in the low post, was excellent at drawing fouls, one of the top of the nation at drawing fouls. None of what I just said necessarily fits in with what West Virginia was doing at the end of the year. You wanted guys to play more in the high post. You need guys to kind of clear the lanes a little bit to make it easier, not jam them up. Derek Culver's a great player. Was Derek Culver a great fit at the end of the season for West Virginia? Clearly the data says he was not. That's not a knock on Derek at all. I think he's a great player. I've said that several times. The fit, I question. I think many people question. I think the most, telling set of data that I've seen thanks to my buddy Thick, who everybody knows on the Blue Lot, does a lot of analytics with basketball. Excellent work. Check out his stuff. It's great stuff. Gabe Osabuoyan averaged 1.7 points per game, and West Virginia was 11 points better with him on the floor, offensively and defensively, than they were Derek Culver over the last 8 games. And I think that's telling to how they want to play. You know, West Virginia wants their guys to play defense, get rebounds, clean up on the weak side, you know, score at the rim, you know, that type of deal, not necessarily, you know, command the ball. You know, Derek Culver's usage rates were the highest on the team. You know, West Virginia was running the offense through him back to the basket, and not necessarily think that's what they want. They need a guy that can swing the ball, kick the ball out, you know, and kind of facilitate things the way that Gabe was doing. You know, kind of those dirty players that, you know, they do all the dirty work. No one really gives them any credit. You look at, you know, kind of like what Baylor expected out of their bigs. You know, they rebound, they play defense, they pass, you know, they finish at the rim, they dunk, not necessarily getting the ball back to the basket running offense to them. So I think in the end, I don't want to say West Virginia's better off without Derek Culver, because I'm not sure if that's accurate. Who knows who comes back? You know, just a couple of days ago, I was sure Derek Culver was coming back, and people I had talked to were pretty sure he was coming back. So it's interesting how that changed, but still 3 more decisions. But if West Virginia returns the rest of the roster intact, I think you look at guys like Damon Kerrigan and Polycap and Gabe as more of a fit for what they were doing last year. And I don't think West Virginia is better. You're never better losing an all-conference player, but maybe the fit is better. And I think you can argue that strongly. I wish Derek the best. You know, showed a lot of maturity over his 3 years here. Did the post-grad year. You look at it from that perspective too. He's 23, going to be 24. It's probably time to go. You know, if you think you can make money, I'm always team grab the bag in that sense. I mean,
grab the bag unless it comes from another college.
Yes, that could get you in trouble. But I do think that it's probably the right call for him. You know, he had a great season. He's able to, if he's not able to do it, you know, everybody's always saying, oh, he won't play in the NBA. Like, there is a lot of money to be made overseas, a lot. And he understands that, obviously. I don't think Derek Culver had any intentions of entering the draft thinking he was going to be a top 10 pick. Let's just put it that way. But West Virginia has a role to replace now. Probably do it with 3 guys. That's a lot of fouls to give. That's a lot of rebounds you can get out of those guys. All 3 are very good defensively as well. I mean, it's clear Bob Huggins prioritized, you know, guys that can change things at the rim, protect the rim, rebound, play solid defense, play multiple positions defensively as well. So interested to see how it all comes together. Right now, still waiting on decisions from Deuce McBride, Sean McNeil, and Taz Sherman, and I'm done. I'm not going to throw out any more predictions because, I mean, I had just talked to people a few days ago that were very confident Derek was coming back. Obviously, as Bob Huggins' reaction and reaction to those programs, they had no idea. Clearly, they were surprised as well. So we'll see what happens. How about we just talk about it after it happens? Because as you guys can see, these things can change very, very quickly. It was crazy in the days before the transfer portal, how many guys I heard were leaving, and then 2 days later they're staying, and they're leaving, they're staying, and they're leaving. Now, at least with the transfer portal, you know if they're leaving, or at least thinking about it. So perhaps we need to get one of those, you know, so we can track everything. So transfer portal is not bad in always, guys. So thanks for tuning in again. This has been another edition of Musings from the Mountains. We'll be back to talk more WVU sports this weekend.